In today's video, we uncover a story so chilling, so shocking, that no movie could ever capture its true horror. Not many people know how to treasure each moment. Sometimes, when everything is calm and happy, there's always something we need. On the other hand, life is only a moment that can end quickly. Two best friends' summer break turned into a terrible nightmare as they hurried home from a party with other students. Before we dive deeper, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I always love hearing from viewers around the world. And if you're into true crime cases like this one, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an upload. All right, let's get back to the case. Elizabeth Christine Peña was born in Houston, Texas on June 21, 1977. Her parents are Adolf and Melissa. Their son, Michael Peña, was born 2 years after Elizabeth, which changed everything in the family. The sister and brother shared a bedroom with bunk beds. For 10 years, their fights with each other were the stuff of tales. Little things like who would get a toy first, who would sleep on the top bunk, and who mom and dad loved more caused them to fight. For many brothers, it was a normal childhood, and it must have been hard on their parents. Elizabeth and Michael were always fighting, but deep down, they loved each other. The girl would defend her younger brother without thinking twice if someone tried to hurt him, and Michael would do the same for her. One more child was added to their family when Elizabeth turned 10. The girl helped her mother care for Rachel Peña, who was just born. She was already used to being the bigger sister. Eventually, Elizabeth and Michael's relationship started to get better after many years of fighting. They stopped arguing with each other and started to understand each other. This made them really value each other. Fights in childhood turned into ties based on love and respect for each other. In Northwest Houston, the Peña family lived in a simple 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in a nice neighborhood close to the elementary school and a short drive from the Jester Park Shopping Center, which had a big community pool, a baseball field, and a golf course. It was great to raise kids in this place. Elizabeth has always been known for her big smile and good mood. One thing she didn't do well, though, she hated washing her hair. Elizabeth would tie the girl's beautiful wavy hair into a bun instead of brushing it. People in the neighborhood could hear her scream when her mother dragged her to the bathroom to do her hair. Elizabeth didn't like washing her hair, but she was always happy and made a lasting impact on everyone she met. The girl wasn't very interested in school. She liked being with her friends more than reading books. Adolf, her father, joked that Elizabeth cared more about how she looked than how well she did in school. Even though she was one of the most popular girls in school, people quickly saw that her beauty was more than skin deep. She stood out because of the way she was. When Elizabeth was a teenager, she had a short outburst of rebellion. The fact that she started hanging out with boys made things tense at home. She and her parents sometimes fought about bedtime. Elizabeth used her bedroom window more than once to sneak out of the house. Her dad told her straight out that boys and men of any age might try to take advantage of how innocent she was. Until she knew someone better, he told Elizabeth to be careful and not trust anyone. She went from a public high school to a private Catholic one so that she wouldn't have any troubles. She was still rebellious, though. Elizabeth was kicked out of school 6 weeks later. This must have been a wake-up call that made her rethink her view on life. She cut ties with her old group of friends and chose to start over. Elizabeth switched high schools and made friends with people who helped her on her way to becoming a better person. Elizabeth met Jennifer Man here, and they became very good friends. In terms of how they looked, the girls were very different. They both wore clothes from the 1990s, and Jennifer had straight golden blonde hair and big blue eyes. Sandra and Randy Ertman had Jennifer on August 15, 1978, in Houston. They had one child, Jennifer, which was a surprise because they had tried for years to have a child. When Sandra got pregnant with her daughter at age 35, she and her husband loved having a child so much. Jennifer was funny even when she was very young. She was a real daddy's girl, and her laugh could make anyone feel better right away. Jennifer liked many different things. As a kid, she loved go-karts and had a big baseball card collection. She had a lot of posters of famous bands all over her bedroom walls when she was a teenager. Jennifer was a kind girl with a big heart who stood out from the rest. Their daughter was raised by Sandra and Randy, who taught her to be honest, kind, and respectful of others. Jennifer did even better than what her parents expected. She liked wearing loose clothes when she was a youngster. To please other people, she didn't try to meet any standards. Jennifer felt comfortable in clothes that didn't fit her shape. Still, she liked putting on makeup and fixing her hair like any girl. Her signature item was jewelry with the letter J on it. Jennifer stuck to her values as she got older. One of them was to value her virginity. She planned to keep it for someone she cared about. She still wore Disney-themed watches because, even though she was older, she still felt like a little girl. Jennifer, then 14 years old, was crazy about one gift for Christmas 1992, a pager. It took her a long time to get her parents to buy her this amazing piece of technology. This one-way contact device could be seen as an early version of cell phones. Sandra and Randy weren't sure at first, but in the end, they decided that a pager would be helpful in an emergency and agreed to do what their beloved daughter asked. Elizabeth and Jennifer lived about 15 minutes away by car, even though they were 1 year apart in age. The parents of both girls were very happy about their friendship. Adolf, Elizabeth's dad, liked how Jennifer related to his daughter. Jennifer did really well in school and was very responsible, which helped her friend along a bit. Jennifer and Elizabeth had a unique kind of bond. During their teens, they went through life together and helped each other through every stage of growing up. The first year of high school was over for both girls by the summer of 1993. They wanted to rest and have fun as much as possible during the summer. The girls were very excited about the future. Liz Peña had made a lot of progress in her life over the past school year. She did better in school and even got a boyfriend. The girl was now very excited about her upcoming summer trip, which she knew would be unforgettable. Elizabeth's 16th birthday was on June 21st. This is a big day for many teens. Jennifer was turning 15 in August, which was coming up. Elizabeth got a very special gift on her special day, which made the event even more memorable. The party girl's eyes lit up when she opened a small box that had been beautifully wrapped. On the inside was a pretty purple silk bra with lace on it. She felt classy and beautiful when she wore that kind of thing. She felt like she was beginning a new phase of her life when she got her first gift that was really mature. She was growing up, becoming independent, and getting ready for an exciting trip. This lacy item showed all of those things. The next day, on June 24th, 1993, Jennifer and Elizabeth planned a night out with the girls. They were going to get something to eat and hang out until it was time to go home. Jennifer had to be home by midnight, and she always did. She was very responsible. They believed in her. Folks knew she had her pager and some cash on her for quick calls like calling a taxi. Later that night, around 4 p.m., Sandra went to Jennifer's room to say goodbye. As she brushed her golden hair, the girl sat in front of the mirror. Someone's friend's dad was going to drive her. When her daughter hugged her mom and told her she loved her, her mom said the same kind things back. About 5 p.m., Randy took Jennifer to Elizabeth's house in his car. She used to say goodbye to her dad with a kiss, but she stopped recently because she thought it was too childish. His daughter promised to be home by midnight after Randy told her not to be late. The girls chose to walk to a nearby Mexican restaurant at 5:30 p.m. to buy tacos. Then they were on their way back to Elizabeth's when they heard a car coming up behind them. The girls in school were a little shocked at first, but then they heard a man's voice. The nice driver asked the girls where they were going. The friends may have been scared by the phrase, but they knew the voice. After work, Adolf, Elizabeth's dad, came home. The man made fun of the girls on purpose to make them feel better. Jennifer and Elizabeth laughed and waved to Adolf to let him know they were ready to walk. Melissa, Elizabeth's mom, drove her daughter and her best friend to meet Gina at the Silver Creek apartment complex, which is only a 5-minute drive from Jester Park, later that night at 8:00 p.m. All the girls wanted to do was hang out until 11 p.m. to get back home by midnight. When the teens got to their friend's flat, Gina's mom and younger sister were there to meet them. The girls went to their room and relaxed, just enjoying each other's company. A normal summer evening with music, laughter, and small talk. Before the sound of a pager, they didn't notice how quickly time went by. Sandy, Jennifer's mom, was there. She asked her to call her back in a message. They were a little irritated as they had to wait while Jennifer called her mom on a landline to let her know everything was okay and that they were just talking in Gina's room. Jennifer, the girls, and a few other friends promised not to be late, so they went outside for some fresh air. While walking around the apartment complex and relaxing by the pool, they didn't notice how quickly time went by. Jennifer gently pushed Elizabeth to tell her it was time to go home at 10:20 p.m. It took an extra 20 minutes to say goodbye, though. They ended up having only 20 minutes left to make it to the Peña house on time, even though walking there usually took at least 30 minutes. Jennifer was afraid that she would miss her curfew at 11:30 p.m., so she suggested going straight through the park instead of going over the railway tracks. The girls knew this area well and felt safe, so they chose to save some time. They had no idea that this casual stroll through the park would be their last. In the meantime, Sandra, Jennifer's mom, woke up at 4 a.m. She jumped, and her heart started beating fast for no reason. When the woman woke up from her sleepiness, she knew what was making her so anxious. The light in her daughter's room was on. Janet always left Jennifer a desk lamp on until she got home. Jennifer would normally turn it off before bed, but the lamp being on meant her daughter hadn't come back. Sandra was about to lose it, so she got up and went to Jennifer's room. The sheets were perfectly made, and there were no signs that her daughter had been on the bed. Jennifer always called her mom ahead of time to let her know when she planned to stay the night at a friend's house, but there was no call this time, which meant something was wrong. Sandra called Jennifer over and over because she was still hoping that her daughter had fallen asleep at a friend's house by accident. She tried to comfort herself that the pager might not have had power, while she tried to stay calm by going back to bed. As Sandra's worry grew, she did everything she could to reassure herself that Jennifer was okay. However, she couldn't get rid of an illogical fear for her daughter. The house was very quiet when Randy Ertman woke up at 6:30 a.m. Jennifer, his daughter, was not showing up anywhere. Sandra was scared to tell her husband the truth because she thought things would get better on their own. He wasn't a cruel parent. He just wanted to keep his kid out of harm's way. Sandra didn't answer right away when Randy asked where Jennifer was. She knew it wasn't going to help to lie, but she still told him that their daughter might have stayed with a friend. Taking out the phone, he called the Peña family. The phone rang and rang, but no one picked up. The other end's silence made him even more worried. Randy tried to get in touch with Gina, Jennifer's other friend, but it didn't work. He couldn't just sit there and wait, so he sped to the Peña family's house in search of solutions. The creepy silence around the house seemed like it wasn't real. In the driveway, there were no cars, no one moving, and nothing. Randy loudly knocked on the front door and yelled for someone to answer. Afterwards, he searched the house by tapping on each window to see where his daughter was. The only answer was silence. Randy came home without anything, and he and Sandra were upset and confused, not knowing what to do next. Why would Jennifer lie about where she was? Was their girl in trouble? Hours came and went in minutes. Randy was so angry that he lost it when the phone rang. The girl was Gina, and she was at summer school with his daughter. After coming home, she listened to a message on her answering machine. She told Randy with a shaking voice that she hadn't seen Jennifer or Elizabeth since the night before. Since the girls talked about going to Elizabeth's house, Gina thought Jennifer had spent the night there. Even so, Randy hoped that his friends were sleeping well after a fun night. Gina was called to show him Elizabeth's bedroom window. When Randy got to the house, he hit the window so hard that the glass broke. Gina was close and worried that her neighbors would call the police because they could see them looking out of the window and wondering what was going on. It didn't matter to Randy. One of his only goals was to find his teenage daughter. He drove Gina back to her flat and rushed home to Sandra because the first attempt had failed. The woman sat in Jennifer's room while he was gone and called every number in the phone book, hoping that someone had seen or heard about the girls. There was only one way for each call to end. Everyone didn't know anything. After that, Elizabeth's folks got in touch. They were both working that day. Melissa and Adolph said they hadn't seen their daughter or Jennifer either since the night before. All day they called Elizabeth but never heard back. They really wanted her to have stayed the night at Jennifer's. Randy called the police right away to say that the girls were missing. The report was made to the Houston Police Department, but they didn't take it seriously. Like many others, they thought the teens had just run away and would be back soon. Parents of the Peña and Ertman girls knew that their daughters would never make them so worried. Even though the cops weren't there to help, the parents chose to handle the situation themselves. The families couldn't just wait while the police and the journalists did nothing. The next morning, June 26th, Randy Ertman made missing persons flyers with pictures of both girls. A nearby store helped him make copies, which cost almost $3,000 each. All over the city, parents and their kids carried flyers. To reach as many people as possible, they put up notices in places with a lot of foot activity, like laundrettes, doorways, and lampposts. Some people in the area and business owners tore down the flyers because they thought they made buildings look bad. The parents were so sad that they wouldn't stop. A scary call came into the cops on June 27th, just 3 days after Elizabeth and Jennifer went missing. Gonzalez was the name of the caller who said he knew where the bodies of the girls were. Gonzalez referenced a wooded area near Jester Park before giving more information and then quickly hung up. Right away, the Houston Police Department reacted to the alarm call. A group of police officers was sent to search the area around Jester Park, but the first search turned up nothing. But the next day, Gonzalez called again, this time straight to 911, giving a more detailed account of where the bodies were. With this new knowledge, the police were able to narrow their search to a certain area. A lot of people were already there, waiting to see what was going on when the police came. Investigator Cromwell didn't go where common sense told him something might be hidden. Instead, he went in a different way, based on his gut feeling. The police officer went across the railway tracks to the other side, climbed up a small hill, and looked around him. A queue of plants was nearby, and the police officer tried to look through them. Eventually, he noticed clothes lying all over the ground in the woods. As Cromwell pushed through the tangled trees, he saw something that looked like a body. Right away, he called for help. A young girl's body was found first. She was lying on her back with her shirt pulled up over her chest to show a purple silk bra. Her face was covered. She looked like she had given up by crossing her arms over her head. One leg had white socks and a high-top trainer on it. Below, the girl had nothing on. The body parts were out in the woods for several days, where they were exposed to heat and bugs. The police moved on to the other victim without taking off the shirt that was over her head. The second girl had some clothes on, but she was very swollen from the extreme Texas heat. In spite of being badly decomposed, one feature stood out clearly. Her nails were painted bright red and well kept. The animals and bugs had done terrible things to the schoolgirl's body, leaving her with only a skull and a broken mouth. In places where her arms were hurt, only bones were left because the muscles and skin had been eaten away. Someone close by, Gina, the girl's friend, was eagerly waiting for news. She was very worried. Her friends Jennifer and Elizabeth had not been seen in a few days, and she had no idea what could have happened to them. Gina probably saw the girls living one of the last times. As she waited nervously and looked at the time, the phone rang. Vanessa, a friend they both had, answered the phone and told Gina some very bad news. While talking, the friend broke down in tears and said that the cops had found 2 bodies in Jester Park. The girls couldn't believe how terrible things were, so they rushed to the scene. They pushed their way through the crowd of people watching, hoping it wasn't their friends who had been found in the woods. The girls were scared to death to see their dead bodies, but they still pushed through the tape that was around the crime scene. When someone yelled a curse at the criminals, people nearby talked quietly to each other, guessing who the victims were. Gina could barely understand what was being said because she had a huge question running through her mind. Were Elizabeth and Jennifer her friends whose bodies were found in the park? When Randy Ertman heard on the news that bodies had been found in Jester Park, he had the same panicked questions. Through the crowd, he ran to the scene of the crime. That his daughter had brown hair, he yelled. A police officer trying to keep things in order had a hard time holding the crying father back. Detectives would not have been able to save the girls even if they had taken the case right away. After looking over the bodies, the medical inspector gave his or her first impressions. It was hard to come to firm conclusions because of the severe decomposition. It was found that Jennifer Ertman died from a neck injury, most likely from being strangled. Police thought that a torn belt they found at the scene of the crime might have been the murder weapon. Some of Elizabeth Peña's teeth were missing, which made it look like she had been hit hard in the face with a hand or foot. Strangulation was also found to be the cause of her death. The girls' bodies were in such bad shape that it was hard to say for sure if they had been assaulted. From the way their bodies were partly naked when they died, it looks like they went through the worst times. After figuring out who the victims were, the police turned their attention to finding the person who did it. The cops first found out who the anonymous person was who told them where the body was. People who called 911 were tracked down and identified as Gonzalez. The young man was really Joe Cantu, who was about 20 years old and trying to make a good life for himself in Houston. After college, he became a paramedic and was now working at a blood collection center in his area. Joe married a young woman named Christina, who he met at work. It took them about 10 minutes to drive from where the crime happened to Joe's parents' house. The bodies of Jennifer and Elizabeth were found 5 hours earlier on June 28th at 5:00 p.m. Detectives took Joe and his wife Christina to the police station to be questioned. The boy told a horrible story that made the police very angry. He said that he lived with his parents and 18-year-old brother, Peter Cantu. He then talked about what had happened in the last week. Someone loudly knocked on the door on June 25th at 12:30 a.m. Christopher's wife, Christina, opened the door and saw a group of teens waiting outside. There were 3 young men, Joe Nuevo, Jose Medellin, 18 years old, and Efrain Perez, 17 years old. They were all friends of Joe's younger brother, Peter. Joe and Christina were both meeting Raul Villarreal for the first time. He was a 17-year-old boy standing next to them. In the next part of his story, Joe said that his younger brother Peter was in charge of a small group of people called the Black and Whites. It was more like a group of close friends acting like tough thieves than a real gang. This visit didn't come as a surprise because his brother's friends would often drop by at any time. There was something wrong, though. Christina saw Jose Medellin covered in blood and with a big red scratch on his neck as soon as she opened the door. He had crazy eyes and a messy look about him. The situation with Efrain Perez wasn't any better. He looked very scared, and his white shirt was dirty around the crotch. One of Raul Villarreal's eyebrows and trousers were covered in dried blood. Triplets entered the living room like it was their own house. Unsurprisingly, they had been fighting. Jose told everyone about Raul and said that he was a new Black and Whites member. They were having an initiation rite, and Raul had to fight several gang members one by one. Peter pushed an 8-year-old kid and stole his bike when he was 11. He later gave it back for a reward. In a few days, he did this twice. There was a fight between the cops and Peter's mother, and that was the end of it. As a middle schooler, Peter would never leave a female friend alone. They used to be friends and walk home from school together. But one day, she pushed him away when he tried to kiss her, and he ran home. Peter slammed all of her windows and doors and demanded that she let him in. After breaking a window out of anger, the boy finally left. When the girl's dad heard what Peter had done, he went to see his parents. As you might expect, Peter's mom supported her son, saying he couldn't have done it, and the girl was lying. As he left, the man told the teen that he would treat him differently next time. The cocky teenager told him that he would do whatever he wanted and no one could stop him. His mother knew what was going on but didn't say anything. His mother said that his friends Jose Medellin and Efrain Perez were to blame. At the beginning of 1993, Cantu was charged with aggravated circumstances involving a gun. 2 times a month, he had to check in at the police office. The second person in the group was Sean O'Brien. His mother left him when he was a child, so his grandma raised him. The old woman never spanked her grandson because she thought he didn't need any more motherly love. Using this to his advantage started when he was young. When things didn't go his way, Sean would scream and act totally crazy. By age 5, the child was almost impossible to control. In 5th grade, the boy tried to kill himself by drinking the whole bottle of medicine. He tried again a few more times, but each time failed. O'Brien got into fights all the time. He got kicked out of school because he fought a bus driver. When Sean was 14, he was found shoplifting. Because he was so young, he was given a warning and sent to an alternative high school, where he met Peter Cantu. The young guys started skipping school together and engaging in heavy drug use. Sean used a gun to attack a school security guard, made threats to burn down the school, stole a car, and then crashed it. Things worsened. He hit his real mother in the chest, which made her fall through a window. Many other attacks were recorded against O'Brien, but he was never charged. The third member of the gang, Efrain Perez, grew up poor in a family that fought a lot. He was constantly moved between family members' homes after his parents got split when he was very young. His youth was ever-changing. Things were going pretty well until Efrain moved to Houston and met boys in his class who spoke Spanish. That's when his problems started. Perez got into fights with other students a lot and often missed class. The kid's school tried to get in touch with his parents or guardians, but could not. Jose, Peter, and Efren killed 2 people while they were trying to rob them. Because they weren't caught, they didn't get punished for what they did. There was a shooting with girls a month before what happened with Efren. He wasn't able to talk about the killing while he was being rushed to the hospital. Other people in the Black and Whites gang did theft, carjacking, drug use, and drinking in public, but they were not involved in the killings of Elizabeth Peña and Jennifer Ertman. Between the railway tracks and Jester Park was where the gang usually met up. Peter Cantu, the leader of the Black and Whites, told Raul Villarreal that if he wanted to join the group, he should fight every other member. Even if Raul couldn't stand it, he would join. The ceremony to initiate them happened where they usually got together. Every fight was at least 5 minutes long. The guys had been drinking beer before the fight, so people there were shouting opinions during the fights. Raul was getting weaker with each fight, but he didn't give up. He was eager to show how tough he was and become a member. It happened that Villarreal got hit, fell, and couldn't get back up. They then left him there and went to the railway flyover to talk about the introduction and decide what to do. Everyone agreed that Raul could join the gang. The Black and Whites were all in a good mood. After drinking all day, the group started to get louder around 11 p.m., which changed the mood. A few people left to go home. The rivalry between the remaining gang members continued. Soon, the drunk men saw 2 girls walking on the dirt path that led to Jester Park. Jennifer and Elizabeth were the ones who chose to cut short their trip home. Unfortunately, the girls didn't know that a bunch of drunk and mean teens were partying right next to them at that very moment. The rest of the night, Joe Cantu told the police about it. He said that Efren took off his bloody shirt and told Joe that he would find out what they did that night on the news. Because the older brother didn't want to be involved, he took the bloody shirt and burned it. But the teens were too excited to continue talking. And Jose started to talk with a goofy grin because he was excited to tell everyone what they had done. The guys were hanging out by the railway tracks, he said, when they saw 2 schoolgirls. One of the gang members, Jose Medellin, tried to pinch Elizabeth in the chest. The girl pushed his hand away and ran faster. This only made the drunk teen madder. She was thrown to the ground and grabbed by the neck by Medellin, who then pulled her down the gravel slope towards the other gang members. Jennifer had a great chance to get away at that time, but she rushed to help her friend instead. Some people in the gang, Peter Cantu and Sean O'Brien, caught her and threw her to the ground. Jose told in horrible detail what the girls were by them. Whatever he said made it clear that he didn't feel bad about what he did. He only felt proud. The girls begged for their lives and asked them to stop, Medellin said. However, Jose and the other guys didn't feel bad about what they did. They just laughed at the victims' cries. Then he said the blonde had never been with a man before. Just to be sure, he showed the bloody pants. Too much happened. Christina Cantu, Joe's wife, had just been beaten up by a group of guys. It hurt her to hear about the horrible things these kids did to the girls. It wasn't just a fight at night or some trouble. They just couldn't ignore it that night. The ending wasn't known yet, but the boys' dark eyes and their sickening laughter made it clear that something terrible had happened. Soon, Peter, Joe's brother, came back home. He took some money and jewelry out of his bags, including a gold chain with a letter J on it. Those were the gang's prizes that they took from the girls. Jen's Disney watch was given to Jose's 14-year-old brother by Peter. Joe finally lost it and asked the question that had been bothering him. What's the story with the girls? Before giving the final shock, the 4 mean teens looked at each other. They declared that the schoolgirls had to be removed because they could recognize their faces. One girl was held in their arms while Jose cinched a cord around her neck until she stopped breathing. Peter told his brother about this. The new gang member, Raul Villarreal, then talked about how he and Sean O'Brien killed the other girl with a belt. He said they laughed when the belt broke from all the pulling. They had to kill her with heavy boot kicks and then make sure they jumped on the bodies that were badly hurt. Joe and Christina both found it disgusting how carelessly and almost cocky they talked about what they had done, but they didn't say anything. It took 2 hours to talk to them. Christina came and went from the room during this time, and she would cry in the bedroom sometimes so no one would see. Although Joe, her husband, wasn't doing anything, she didn't even look at him when he finally got to bed. That night's events scared the woman so much that she told her husband the next day to do something about what they had heard. Joe felt the weight of what he had learned and his duty to his brother at the same time. Joe did call the cops, though, because Christina persuaded him to do so. They now had enough information to get a warrant for the suspect's arrest. It was 3:30 a.m. The Houston Police Department arrested all 6 suspects in the deaths of Elizabeth and Jennifer on June 29th. They were Peter Cantu, 18, Sean O'Brien, 18, Efren Perez, 17, Raul Villarreal, 17, Jose Medellin, 18, and his brother Venancio Medellin, 14. Everyone was accused of a crime punishable by death. According to Texas law, they could all be held responsible no matter what age, if it could be shown that they worked together. The families of Elizabeth and Jennifer were shocked when they learned that their girls had been hurt by 6 people. Why did none of these teens do anything to stop the killings? The people of Houston were also shocked. A lot of crimes happened, but what happened to the girls was hard to understand. The crime made no sense and shook the whole city. The bad guys would have stayed free and continued to ruin other people's lives if Christina hadn't persuaded her husband to call the cops. As they were led to court, most of the suspects avoided looking at the public and reporters, but Jose and Peter made eye contact. It was not shy for Medellin to threaten reporters and Cantu to lunge at one and kick a video camera. The 6 young guys were all locked up at the Harris County Detention Center, where they were forced to face the harsh truth. In jail, there is an unspoken rule that says people who do horrible things to children are the worst criminals. Not only do police officers treat them badly, but other prisoners also do horrible things to them. Later it came out that Frank and Ramon, twin brothers who were in the gang and had left earlier, had heard the girls' screams and knew why they were screaming, but they didn't come back or stop their friends from having fun. When detectives talked to the boys, they learned more about the first attack. An officer later found out that the twins hadn't done anything because they didn't want to look weak in front of the other gang members. But someone boldly spoke out. Younger brother Venancio Medellin, who is 14 years old, essentially pleaded guilty to a crime with aggravating conditions. The teen helped the police with important information about the case in return for a lighter sentence. Venancio saw it all with his own eyes and was shocked, unable to believe what he was seeing. 5 gang members beat up Elizabeth and Jennifer in every way possible. The youngest child was also made to take part. Fearing for his life made him give up. Fear kept him from doing it. Peter Cantu told Venancio the scary news that the girls had seen their faces and had to be killed now. Venancio thought it was over. Jen was the first person killed. Elizabeth, her friend, could only watch as she fought for her life because she knew she was next. As soon as the boys couldn't choke Peña, they kicked her hard and then jumped on her. No matter what, Elizabeth and Jennifer were incredibly strong during this terrible experience. Until the very end, neither of them shed a tear. Elizabeth didn't start crying until she saw Jennifer being killed. 14-year-old Venancio Medellin got 40 years in prison, which is the longest sentence that can be given to a child. In exchange for testifying against 4 gang members, all but his brother, he got a lighter term. The sentence was too light for the Ertman and Peña families, and their anger grew when the state didn't press any more charges and even tried to make the punishment even lighter. The teen made an emotional speech in which he or she said they were very sorry for what happened. He often woke up at night with the haunting thought that he might have been able to stop the others, but he wasn't sure. At age 14, he wasn't in the Black and Whites gang. He and his older brother Jose had just come to the meeting. The sad services for Jennifer Ertman took place in Houston on July 1st. A lot of sad schoolmates came together to honor their friend. Musical selections at the service included sad songs and Jennifer's favorites. It didn't surprise her parents that she had a chance to run away, but instead went back to help her best friend Elizabeth. Jennifer has always been known for being loyal and brave, even when she was in terrible danger. The strength of their friendship was shown by these traits. Many of the people who were sad went to another service to honor Elizabeth Peña and her family after the goodbye. The graves of the girls were put diagonally across from each other to show how close they were as friends and how tragic it was that they both died. Supporters of the girls held vigils and monuments all over the state. Supportive and sad letters from all over the world, including one from President Bill Clinton, touched the parents' hearts. The prosecutor wanted Peter, Jose, Sean, Efren, and Raul to be put to death. All 5 suspects' trials were set to happen around the same time. When the medical expert talked about the schoolgirls' injuries and how their bodies were, both families had to leave the courtroom because they could not handle hearing about the horrible details. However, the prosecutor thought it was very important for the judges to see the shocking evidence for themselves. They could only fully understand how bad the crime was by picturing the horrible things that happened to the girls. During the trial of Peter Cantu, Randy Ertman told the suspect how he really felt. There were friends, family members, classmates, and teachers of the girls who were killed in the courtroom. All of these people came to help Randy get ready to talk to Peter. When Ertman walked up, Cantu turned his back on the victim's father and wouldn't even recognize him. But the sad father's voice echoed through the courtroom and kept telling Peter to look at him. Ertman wrote, "Cantu was worse than a beast that kills its prey to survive. Peter committed the murders for thrills." Eventually, Randy told the boy that he lived to see the day he would die and wished that he would burn in hell. The father tried to show how angry he was after learning what his only daughter had to go through. No one at the trial could believe that Peter Cantu didn't feel any guilt at all. The guy didn't care about how horrible he was. He was given the death penalty by the judge. In September 1994, it was decided that Raul, Efrain, and Jose would all be tried at the same time in the same courts. This would save time and help the families of the schoolgirls who were killed deal with their grief more easily. It was decided that all 3 were guilty and given the death penalty. Adolf Peña and Efrain Perez's stepfather got into a fight in the courthouse hallway after the decision. The stepfather said the girls died because of bad parenting. This person was brave enough to defend his stepson's actions and put the blame on the victim's father. Police had to step in and stop the fight because it was so rude. Joe Cantu called the Houston Police Department again with shocking news before Sean O'Brien's trial started. Joe said that Jose, Sean, Peter, and others had bragged about killing another woman months before they attacked Elizabeth and Jennifer. Joe said that the 3 guys admitted to killing Patricia Lopez, a mother of 2 who was 27 years old, in January 1993. The woman was found on her back, partly naked, with cuts in her body that showed her organs. The crime almost did not get punished. After Joe Cantu's report, DNA testing proved that all 3 young guys were involved. It was April 1999 when O'Brien's trial began. The judges deliberated for only 90 minutes before making their decision. Also, he was given the death sentence. Elizabeth's folks thought the punishment was too light, even though the sentences were harsh. Adolf said he wanted to hurt Sean as much as he hurt his daughter. He said he would have liked it better if Elizabeth had just been shot and gone to sleep for good, instead of going through all the pain she did. In the end, all 5 Black and White's gang members were given the death penalty. Parents of the girls asked to be at the killings. In Texas, this kind of thing used to be illegal, but the families worked together to get a new law passed. They wanted to be there when justice was done. After families and other people who had been through similar tragedies kept pushing for it, the Corpus Christi Criminal Justice Board made a historic decision in 1996. They changed the rules in Texas so that families of victims could see killings. About 75% of the families of victims took advantage of the chance after this change. But something terrible happened in 2005. People who were younger than 18 at the time of the crime could not be put to death, the Supreme Court said. For Perez and Villarreal, their sentences were immediately changed to life in prison. They will be able to get parole in 2029. These details were more bad news for the families of the girls. Still, they hope that the crooks will never get out of jail. These evil monsters will have to take responsibility for their horrible deeds until the end of their lives. Atheists in the area fought against the Peña and Ertman families' plans to put crosses at the spot where Elizabeth and Jennifer died in Jester Park to honor their lives. After fears of a lawsuit, the parents agreed to put up memorial benches there. Pink and white balloons were sent into the sky on the day the shrines were dedicated to honor the innocence and purity of these 2 young girls. Randy and Sandra Ertman had to make the hard choice to leave Houston after the sad death of their only daughter. The city held too many painful memories for them. Randy used to fight for victims' rights, but after the loss he couldn't handle it and turned to drinking. The cancer killed him in 2014. The Peña and Ertman families told parents to treasure the time they have with their kids because life is uncertain and can end at any time. This case shows just how shocking and unpredictable real life can be. Let me know your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more true crime stories. Stay safe out there.